Hi, welcome on back to Crude's Clinic. So, we have a quick tips and tricks guide for you on the alien in level 0 extraction. This is going to be my personal top 20 tips that I can give somebody to help their gameplay. And if you're a veteran alien, there may be something in here that you didn't think of or didn't know, and it might help you out. So, with that being said, let's roll on into it, and I hope to see you guys on the next video. If you guys enjoy the video, please leave a like, subscribe, and if you have a tip of your own that I didn't have in this video, be sure to leave it in the comments below. I would love to read up on them. With that, let's get into it. Tip 1. Run around with your cloak active. This allows you that split second to get away if there was an eagle-eyed merc that saw you enter a room, or they hit a light switch, or a drone was waiting until you were in the middle of the hallway to turn the lights on. This will save you all of that time and effort if you got caught in the middle. Tip number 2. Utilize your scan frequently. Scanning as frequently as possible will net you a ton of information and give you the ability to predict merc movements more accurately, as well as set up proper ambushes and potentially just outright kill mercs. You can also use that information to herd merc teams that you can't quite pin down into other merc teams to force that fight and get you that third party. Tip number 3. Spit on everyone. This doesn't do a whole lot. You get in some chip damage doing it. However, this chip damage adds up over time and begins to eat away at those merc resources, whether flares or med sticks. Super useful in the end game, more of a late game play or a late game benefit rather than an immediate benefit at the start. Tip number 4. Uncloak before using an ability. Now, this one isn't as practical as all the others and is easier said than done in most cases. I get it. However, doing this will allow you to get more done and apply more damage and pressure upon diving a merc team rather than waiting out that uncloak penalty after using an ability. It also allows you to aid your teammate once both of you dive. Tip number 5. Think outside the box. Engage that big gamer brain. As the alien, you can get into those vents and unlock really good flank routes, catch mercs by surprise, attack from unsuspecting angles and directions, sit in weird spots, place eggs in even stranger spots, like on shelves or in plants, places that they're not going to think to look. Tip number 6. Gas downed players. As the alien, you get that down. You can't confirm it. His teammates are there. They have flashlights. And it sucks. You're like, damn, they're going to get that guy up. I did all that work for nothing. No, my friend. Hit him with that gas cloud. If they're hand-resing him, there is not, unless they have paramedic, there's not enough time for them to res their friend while they sit in a gas cloud. You will secure that kill with the gas. Tip number 7. Bait merc flashlights. If you can bait out a merc flashlight with a false push or a fake engage, you can force them to use up those resources, whether it's flares or flares or glow sticks. You want to bait out that flashlight primarily. The moment that flashlight comes out and gets turned on, if you can get it with an EMP, that flashlight is now disabled for 7 seconds and has lost 30% of its battery life, which is a huge trade and win on your side. That alone, right there, doesn't sound like a lot. But think of it this way. 3 EMPs and the flashlight's useless, which forces them to rely more heavily on the static light sources within the facility. Tip number 8. Keep track of what's on the floor around you. This is going to sound really weird, especially in a first-person shooter game. You want to stare at the floor a lot when you're the alien. The reason for this is because there's more information on the ground than you probably realize, that you could possibly imagine, right? By keeping an eye out on the floor, you can see magazines, stems, med pens, flares, glow sticks, flashlights, all of that stuff. You can tell which guns have been used, what weapons this merc team has, what all happened. You can count the resources that they have and kind of get an idea of how strong or weak this merc team is based on the resources that are just on the floor. Tip 9. Learn the placement of turrets, how to tell which turret is firing. That way you can more accurately track merc teams. Most mercs run around the turrets. They don't give it any mind, which means that turret fires, haphazardly giving away their position. Use this to your advantage. On top of this, be mindful of merc spawns at the start of a raid. Mercs will always spawn in a room with the lights on, whereas you will always EMP upon spawning into a room. Tip 10. Listen for audio cues. Mercs that are injured will moan. However, mercs that are close to death will both cough and moan. Use this information to accurately pressure the merc team at their weakest link to achieve that kill and or down. Tip 11. Strike merc teams while they are looting or immediately after a team fight. Doing this applies even more pressure to a team when they're low on meds, or they're low on ammo or light sources. It's super good to do that. You want a third party as the alien as much as possible. Tip 12. Use hit and run tactics. Learn when to leave an engagement and when to stay. This is something that I can't teach you, and unfortunately has to be something that is learned through trial and error. Tip 13. Use your egg traps as motion detectors. Place eggs around corners or behind doors to act as passive intel gathering mechanics. Mercs aren't going to be aware of it, they're not going to be paying attention, and they'll stumble into it, especially if you put them in high traffic areas when there's nobody around. Tip 14. Use your gas to prevent mercs from healing at the med stations. You want to deny the enemy of nice things at every turn. Getting that chip damage in again as much as possible will help you out in the long run when they're trying to extract. Tip 15. This is for my evil aliens. Keep some mercs as friends and or allies so that you can betray them later when they're at their weakest. Mercs are greedy little gremlins. If they think you're friendly, they'll drop their light sources to pick up more loot. Then you'll kill them when they can't run away. Tip 16. You can melee landmines and other explosive barrels to cause excess damage to mercs that will either instantly down them or outright kill them. A little harder to do, not as viable, but is still very funny when you can pull it off. Tip 17. Use your shout after sneaking up on a merc. This prevents them from swapping items and turning around, allowing you to get some really good damage in, potentially a down or an outright kill if they're alone. Tip 18. Isolate, isolate, isolate. Do your very best to focus the one who is isolated away from their teammates, as well as try to isolate mercs away from the rest of their team. Doing so allows you that 2v1 advantage that the aliens strive for. Tip 19. Avoid solos in the beginning. Even though dealing with a solo sounds really easy, they are the most powerful merc at the start of a raid and should be avoided until the end of the raid. This is because they will have dropped their light sources to collect loot and other items, making them more vulnerable at the late game, whereas your trio is the weakest at the start because they start with the least amount of light resources. Tip 20. Be mindful of where drones are. When mercs die, they can go into a drone. Be mindful of where that drone is at all times. When a drone dies, it will spawn directly above their merc teammate. So if you have a drone that just appeared out of nowhere, chances are there's a merc hiding on the other side of that barrier behind it. But behind those boxes, those barrels, that divider in the office. Just be mindful of it. That's just a few tips and tricks that I can come up with off the top of my head, my top 20. I hope you guys found them useful. I hope they aid you in the future. And reminder, I will be making an Alien in-depth guide later in the week where we dive in a bit deeper on some of these tips. I show the practical uses of them, as well as a dive into the Alien's kit and its abilities, and I describe how they work and how to maximize their potential. Thanks again for watching. I hope to see you on the next one. Have a wonderful night. So we're going to go over a quick tips and tricks guide to the Alien in Level 0 Extraction. Okay? I almost said Left 4 Dead there. That was really weird. Blech, I can't English today. Holy fuck. This is going to be a quick tips and tricks guide to the Alien. You know, couple tips and tricks I've learned since playing the Ada. Since playing Ada. Yeah, okay.